an issue that we haven't talked enough about. What does bail reform mean to us? It means that because you are too poor to pay for your freedom, not because you're dangerous, you're a flight risk or anything else, but because you were literally too poor to pay for your freedom. You are incarcerated because you're driving without a license. $100 crime, $1,000 crime. We're finding that our folks are being incarcerated, losing their jobs, losing their housing. So this is an economic justice issue that has not come to the forefront. It is, I think these kinds of issues are the ones that I have seen in my work and have taken it upon myself to address. And so I went to the Capitol in Annapolis. I was the only prosecutor. Thank God that I was elected, right? It's important for us to be at the table, absolutely critical for us to be at the table, because out of the 24 jurisdictions in Maryland, guess what? Nobody showed up but me in Annapolis to testify on behalf of bail reform. No other prosecutor in the state of Maryland showed up except for me to say that it is wrong to punish a person because they are poor. And so it really does highlight the fact that we have to be present. When we think again about the gun violence that we are seeing in our communities, again, it is really going to be incumbent upon women to get out there and to resolve this issue. How do we do it? There are ways that we must do it to make sure that we are fighting for gun laws that are sensible. We were able to do this in Maryland. We have one of the most aggressive gun laws in Maryland, the Gun Safety Act of Maryland that was passed in 2013. Ensuring that individuals who are mentally ill, we haven't talked about it, we are, so irresponsible in allowing those who suffer from mental illness to have guns. We have been so irresponsible as well in ensuring that those who are disqualified from possessing guns have them as well. So we have done some really common sense things like requiring a fingerprint for those who now are getting these guns to make sure. We have so many guns in our communities, and our babies are showing up along the side of the road every day because of it. And so it is really going to be incumbent upon us to make sure that we are not only passing common sense gun laws, but that we're doing everything we can to protect our young people and to protect our women who are suffering in these domestic relationships. Again, domestic violence is not confined just to adults. What we've seen in Maryland, and we see all across this country, is that children are the invisible victims as well of domestic violence. And so these are some of the issues. If you ask what I'm seeing in my work, those are some of the things. But again, the thing that hurt me so much is to remind me that women and our children don't feel safe any place in America, not at home, not inside, not outside. So we have a lot of work to do. I'm going to end on this thought because I heard something that was so powerful. I want us to remember how powerful we are. I heard Sojourner Truth's name called a moment ago and reminded me when she said something that I keep repeating. I said it last year and we'll say it again this year, when she said, if the first woman that God ever made was bad enough to turn the whole world upside down, well, then these women ought to be able to get together and turn it right side up again. We can do it. We are doing it, and a major shift is occurring. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm squinty, so I'll look across. I think I see Angela Rye just walked in, so I want to acknowledge her. Friends will embarrass you. That's what you got to do. Everybody give a big round of applause for the amazing Angie Rye. Thank you for coming. All right, I want to bring in Dr. DeMessi on that point, because I think there is so much concern and trauma around issues of violence that are taking place in our community. And, a lot of African Americans have a closer relationship to our representatives than normal. I mean, I think about the LaDavid Johnson situation. It's more likely that you were going to know Frederica Wilson because she's such an endemic part of the community, Congresswoman Wilson. So it's an advantage in a way. So how can we best effectively use that closer connection that oftentimes people of color have with our representatives? What should we be asking for?
Exactly, great question. And as we say in political science, descriptive representation matters. It matters that our representatives look like us, identify with who we are, and get supported to ensure that we can keep growing the numbers of Black members of Congress. Last session, we had the highest number of Black members of Congress ever in U.S. history. This session of Congress, same thing holds. So what does that mean? Are our interests, therefore, more represented because we have more people in office that look like us? That's the hope, that's the theory. It is reality. However, they're still in the minority. Right. And so it is important that we, at every level, speak up and also identify the challenges. As I hear everyone talk, I think about the fact that all of these issues are interrelated. When you hurt black women, you hurt the black family. When you hurt the black women, you hurt America. When you help, conversely, when you help assist black women, whether you're talking about work that Joy does with equal pay and for equal work, right? 80% of black mothers are basically the sole earners. Over 80% of black mothers are breadwinners, whether they're sole earners or earning up to 40% of their income. So, but yet they get paid less on the dollar than not only white men, but white women. So we're working harder, we have more responsibilities, and when black men and young people die, that's affecting black women. And yet we are in this sort of paradox, if you will, where we need to be empowered by our members of Congress. So, we had this overemphasis on the executive branch after Obama's election. It makes sense, but we kind of missed the boat on the importance of local and state elections. So yes, know who your representative is, but know who your mayor is, know who your county executive, know who your state's attorney is. Go show up at public hearings, do the work, and follow people like Tamika Mallory who are there when lifting up issues at a local level, even if the rest of the nation is not aware of it. So when you show up and show your voice, there are strength in numbers. So I'll just leave it at that. But let me also just mention that things are changing. This power shift is very real. It's 2018, and for the first time ever in 2020, the U.S. Census is going to acknowledge the saliency of ethnicity within the U.S. black population. We're African American, we're African, we're Caribbean, and so we will have the opportunity now to collect more data that accurately reflects where our populations are. So we have to speak up in all of these issues, and no one's going to do it if we don't do it for ourselves.
Yeah. 2020 is important. It's an Armageddon year. It's a presidential year and a census year. So the last one was 2010, and you saw what happened, right? Armageddon. I want to go to Tamika on that point, because I think one of the things that happened during the Obama administration is that in a lot of ways, activism had the luxury of an open ear in the White House. That when you protested things like police violence, you could go into that administration, and even if it was adversarial, there was a give and take. It was sort of the Lyndon Johnson model, where there was something of a give and take. Now, in the current era, there's not that sense that that kind of activism has an ear on the federal level. So how has activism shifted to respond to that? Is it becoming more local? What do you think is the sort of smart way to do the kind of grassroots activism that you do?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And obviously to Melanie, I appreciate you for always having me and just being a big sister and a mentor. I do think it definitely is shifting in terms of the amount of people who are engaged and folks just feeling really, really afraid. But my job today was to give up my time for exactly this point to a young woman who I brought here with me. And just to we're looking at the numbers and we're saying that people are activists and they are more engaged and they are concerned about criminal justice reform. And we know that that's true. And we know a lot of it is happening online, but it is not necessarily translating on the ground right now. And we have to figure that out. The reason why I asked Melanie if I could bring Shakisha Clemens to today's session is because this young woman, I don't know how many of you heard, and I know Angela, my sister sitting here, was very, very vocal about Shakisha's situation right after it happened. But she was assaulted by police officers in a Waffle House. And how many of you saw that video go viral? Exactly. So Shakisha, come on over here, honey.
Yes.
So I asked Shakisha to be here because what was most painful to me, while many of us were talking about it, sharing the tweets and all of that, not other than BWR and maybe one or two other organizations and obviously National Action Network, many of our organizations missed the mark in terms of standing up for this young sister. There was some disconnect that happened there where we knew it happened, we felt bad about it, but we did not do enough to say we need to first of all hold the Waffle House accountable because a corporation was complicit right in the middle of the attack against her, and then right after her, a young man, a gay young man, his name is Anthony Wall, and our brother David John has really been out championing his cause. He was also attacked. we missed the mark in terms of holding people accountable, and not just police officers, but looking at how corporations also have to respond and say that what happened to this young woman was inappropriate in their restaurant. So I wanted to make sure, when you asked the question about how, this relationship between us and President Obama, to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure that that was a good thing, that we felt we had an open ear, because not enough of us were doing enough at that time. Right now, with this closed door that we have, hopefully we will kick it open. And we can't do that if we're talking up here but not focusing on things that are happening on the ground to someone like this young woman who was attacked, who was derobed. Her body was literally exposed, and she was fondled for all intended purposes on the internet. We all saw it. And all we did was say, I feel so sorry about it, but we never issued a particular address to those who were responsible for her assault. So I said, let me bring Shakisha here today so we can get it right, because we still have an opportunity to tell Waffle House to hell with you. We still have an opportunity. And to be clear, she went to court. First of all, she was charged with criminal charges because of, come on, Shakisha. She was charged because the police said that she was the one who attacked them and made them have to restrain her, which we saw on video that was not true. So we attended court with Shakisha. We went to court at 6 o'clock on a Monday. The trial was from 6 to 9 p.m. The judge heard all the testimony from 6 to 9. Okay, yeah, exactly. It's 6 to 9, heard all the testimony, looked at all the discovery, said he had never watched the video before, but he watched it that day and decided by 9 p.m. that she was guilty. So she was found guilty of criminal charges that the police officers in Saraland are holding against her. She has had to pay fines and do all those things without the full support of our community. So what we are asking today is that we wrap our arms around Shakisha, and that we stop saying, but my Waffle House is good to me, because the white men that owned the Waffle House said that what happened to her was acceptable and they had nothing to do with it. They did not one time step up and say, you know what, this situation got out of control, it was wrong, she should not have been attacked, and we're calling for the police officers to release the charges against her. They never did that, which makes them complicit in her abuse. So I'm hoping that we will look at what has happened with this young sister today, wrap our arms around her and say no more, and that we are going to not just talk about a report, but do the real work on the ground with people who look like her.
First off, I want to thank everybody for, listening to Tamika talk about my situation. It really did hurt me like deeply, because I see a room full of wonderful people, wonderful women, wonderful people that stand up and mean something, and I couldn't see half of these people come to my defense, nor come to Anthony's defense, nor come to the defense of the two couples in the Waffle House that got mistreated as well. So it has been a process. Whew. It has been a process. It's still a process. I just really want, I want justice for me. And because not only for me, it's other women out there that this has happened to, and no one knows about it because it wasn't recorded. And I don't know.
So, thank you, Shakisha. Thank you for your bravery, first of all, and for coming here. She had to bring the movement here. What can we do? So first of all, I just want to say, and I saw Janae come in, that's the reason why we joined the Women's March. We didn't join the Women's March because we just wanted to be on TV. We joined it because we would not allow people to gather resources and to get together and set an agenda on behalf of black women, and we were not at the table. And in fact, we built the table. If it were not for the work that Janae and others did, we wouldn't have had a march in Washington, D.C. And so I am just saying that, number one, walking in the Waffle House should be off the limits for us. Like, our social media ought to be saying, we don't go there. We'll eat anywhere else, but we don't go to the Waffle House until they come forward and address this issue and fix the problem. Because the problem still has not been fixed. She has not been made whole from being abused and lied on in court to where she now has been criminalized. We ought to make the Waffle House pay for that. So that's number one. Oh yeah, are there civil rights attorneys in the room that might be able to help us? And Ben Crump has been on this. There we go.
And
Thank you,
Clark is
Kristen.
on her
Thank
way.
you.
Yeah.
Ben Crump has been on this case. He's been very active and been trying to bring forth justice in this particular case so we can figure out how to be more supportive of him. The legal process worked well because what's their lawyer's name from Marcus Fox is a gentleman in Alabama who we just met in court one day, and he was awesome. He really handled the case well. The problem is that there was not enough noise on the ground. And that is the part that I think we need to figure out how we can be more helpful in increasing the noise on the ground. And she does have a GoFundMe. How is it work? Is you good? Okay, good. So because you want to just do Shakisha Clemens at your GoFundMe account? Okay. Well, let's just for transparency, people started attacking, like, you know, the white supremacists get busy and they started shutting her page down, reporting it. And so every time you turned around, the page would be up and then they would pull it down. But you're saying it's alive now. And so people can go to GoFundMe and give to Shakisha Clemens. You can write it down right now. I'll give you her name. It's CHIKESIA. That's CHIKESIA. CLEMONS. Obviously, this young lady did not ask for this, and you know we want to try to provide her with resources, love, and support. But more importantly, let's take what's in this report and make it real, and put some real boots on the ground on her behalf. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you. And I think Shakisha's case, I think, redoubles the point we made earlier. District attorneys are politicians. Attorneys general are politicians. They are ultimately accountable to voters. We saw in Chicago, and this was a Democrat who was elected with Barack Obama, a woman of color, and when she refused to do her job and hold police accountable with video evidence, the voters said, you know what? Here's a black woman we can put in her place. And if she doesn't do her job and hold officers accountable, or in situations like this, take the action that the state constitution prescribes, there's something you can do about it. We're not helpless. And I think we have to look at these criminal justice situations as additional opportunities to vote in people who will actually safeguard our rights. I'm going to get off my soapbox and let everybody get back in, because I want to bring in Dr. Moore, because Sisters Saving Ourselves is the organization that you are executive director of in Pittsburgh, because I want to zero in on this a little bit more, because we do focus on the frustration of not seeing criminal justice, not seeing justice done, you know, from Trayvon Martin, whether it's Shakisha, all of these cases where we just scream out in frustration. But what can we do to save ourselves? What can we do besides tweet, rail, get on the GoFundMes? What should we be doing? Vote?
Yeah. First of all, giving a preacher a mic. You know,
dangerous thing, I understand. To God be the glory. We're okay though.
Yeah. The scripture comes from Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "For I know the plans that I have for you. They are plans to prosper and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." When we are not where we want to be, what should our response be? I don't know about you, but I am so sick and tired of our families suffering, our community suffering, our churches. Scriptures once again says, I know the plans I have for you. A healthy community is one in which local groups from all parts of the community work together to prevent disease and to make healthy lives options. While we are still determined to make sure that we make this difference. In Pennsylvania, the school ranges from having everything they need and more to trying to keep the lights on in the black community. And I've seen firsthand the effects of black women fighting for their lives, for their children, to support them. Pennsylvania, now we're fighting for equal pay, for equal work, and of course, focus on paid family and medical leave. I know personally the importance of clean air. Pittsburgh scored an F according to the American Lung Association, on their report card. I know firsthand about gun violence. Just recently, we had a 17-year-old get shot in the back running away from police. I know firsthand about a church sister, young sister, shot and killed with her infant in her arms. But no sister pastor should have to go to the home of another sister and to tell them we're so sorry. But the good news is about this particular mother. They wanted her to close the casket, and she said, no, I want every black woman and black man to see what was done to my baby. Over 32 times. Mental health is failing in Pittsburgh, where a young sister who sat right across the table from me, and I get emotional about it because I was a part of the process, sat right across from me because the mental health had failed her. 2 weeks later, she went and stabbed and killed her mother. And so we have so many other issues that are going on. One of the other things is that we are still yet hopeful, even though stuff seems crazy. And I don't know about you, but Pittsburgh, Mon Valley, we're not waiting for somebody to come and pick us up and ride us off in the sunset. But we do have this hope. Black women in Pittsburgh and Mon Valley are running for political office and being elected. We have sisters we can shout out, Summer Lee, we can shout out the names of those who are running for political office and have won. And now we have this ability to change our situation in Pittsburgh, Mon Valley. One church at a time, one house at a time, one community at a time. We are addressing our mental, our physical, our spiritual, and financial wellness. We've been in jeopardy as black women far too long. In Pennsylvania, black women are rising up and saying no more. We are not waiting for someone to speak our truths. We are speaking our own truth. We're telling our own stories. And I love it, the fact that we're not waiting to be invited to anybody's table. We are creating our own table. And if you want to come and join us, well and good. But we're not depending on anyone to save us. We will save ourselves. Sisters like Summer Lee and sisters like Tina Ducey and Braddock, they tell us that they want us to eat healthy, but there's no grocery stores. They say they want us to be well physically, but the hospitals are not treating us because we don't have the medical insurance that we need. And so I just want you to know that you don't have to worry about Pennsylvania, Mon Valley, that we're reaching and we're stretching out, we're making a difference. And I'm blessed to have a sister and a mentor who are here with me, not only in support of me, but in support of what's happening in Pittsburgh, Mon Valley. We are saying no more.
Thank you. Now we have just enough time. We're going to go to 3:40 for everybody who's waiting for the next convening. So I'm just letting you guys know we have just enough time because I want to make sure that we get a chance. Sabrina is here. Sabrina Fulton is here. Let's give her a round of applause. I want to make sure we get her in. Kristen Clark, who is the President Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, has arrived. Give her a round of applause. I want to make sure we get Sabrina, Kristen, Joy, and Solandra a comment. I'm going to see if I can convince Angie to make a comment as well, and we're going to then throw it open. So we're going to try to leave a few minutes for you guys for questions. But I want to stay on this subject for just a moment, Sabrina, because, you know, when we think about interacting with the criminal justice system, we always go to interacting with the criminal justice system as defendants and how African Americans are overrepresented, over-prosecuted. But we also interact with that system as victims, as your family was, as you are, Shakisha, and that interaction is not any more productive a lot of times. So can you just talk to us, just as a mom who's interacted with that system, just to get people to really understand what it means when we don't have a criminal justice system that is sensitive to our families and is proactive and aggressive about seeking justice for us?
Good afternoon. One of the things that, of course, the trial that I sat in for my son, it wasn't Trayvon Martin's trial, even though it seemed like it was. Sitting there for the first time in a trial, I had never been in a trial, you know, because I'd never been arrested. I never had a reason to go to, you know, a courtroom. So I was, you know, horrified, to say the least, to sit there and listen to all the evidence. And there were things that I noticed that me not being an attorney, just a concerned parent, just a mom, just sitting there, I just realized that things are so unequal and unbalanced, and it bothered me a great deal. And a lot of times we don't know until we sit in those seats. So one of the things that troubled me a great deal was the fact that my son wasn't able to sit there. He wasn't able to attend the trial. Another thing was, I don't know how many of you guys saw the documentary, The Rest in Power, The Life of Trayvon Martin. Very proud of that documentary, and it told the truth. It hurt a lot to make it. A lot of people told me it hurt for them to watch it. Just imagine me having to talk about this and relive this again. But I thought it was important for people to know the ugly parts. You know, a lot of times, you know, I'm looking around the room, everybody looks so nice in here and everything, but we have to deal with the ugly parts. And so I wanted you guys to see the ugly parts, the parts that we as parents had to sit through, and the hurt and pain and the things that I just endure on a daily basis. But back to that courtroom saga, it was too many people in there from the media. We only had one row for my attorney, and for Tracy's family and my family, it was only one row. You know, we had to share that row, but the media had 5 rows that they were allowed to come in. That bothered me a great deal. And then to have to sit in a courtroom for a few weeks with the person who shot and killed your child, that's already a trying time. But it was things like, when we went in the courtroom one time, they switched the prosecution, because we would sit behind the prosecutors, and on the other side was the killer of my son. Well, one day when we came in the courtroom was switched around, and nobody told us. So the person who shot and killed Trayvon was literally sitting feet away from us. It's things like that that really bothered you, that really bothered us. And I just think they should do a better job with, you know, the victims. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you saw the documentary, then you know about the joke that was told. This is a murder trial. It was too much smiling in that room. Mm-hmm. You know, it was too much chuckling, too much laughter going on, where people were almost like celebrating when the verdict came out in the courtroom. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to be there, because I felt whatever decision was made, I still wasn't going to be happy with it. But you had people rejoicing. If you look at that documentary, you will see people are smiling. They shaking hands, they hugging. For what? We have a 17-year-old that was unarmed. And they sat in that courtroom and said the concrete was the weapon that he had. He had candy and a drink. He had no weapon. It was clear that this person was following him, chased him, pursued him, and murdered him. But we, as African Americans, have to endure that. Yes. And we're supposed to just swallow it and just keep living. And I could say that I am, but I'm not going to keep living and not do anything. I'm going to keep living and do something about it.
Thank you. And Shakisha, you're nodding. Is that did you have a similar experience of not feeling that part of what the courtroom experience you had was looking out for you as a victim?
Oh, definitely. Like Tamika was telling you, when we actually went into the courtroom, they was like, well, the judge was like, all the evidence, all the feelings, I don't even know why this case is so emotional like this. Like, it's not that serious, basically, is what he was saying to us. And he was just like, my lawyer, when I say he's awesome, Marcus Fox, he's awesome. He broke the video down to core, to every second, and called every police officer, called every waiter, every witness that they had in their life. And for them to, for him to show that, and for them to just like, okay, well, we're just gonna disregard that because that doesn't matter. I'm gonna basically, prosecute you and do whatever I got to do because I already made my mind up already before you even got in here. So it's just basically, we're just gonna take up time and air and space just for no reason. Yeah. So yes, I totally understand exactly where she's coming from because I too have experienced it.
So I want to bring Kristen Clark in on that because there is a sense that, on both sides of whichever side you land on in the criminal justice system, there isn't a sense of advocacy or a sense of sensitivity to the other issues surrounding African American victimhood or African American over-incarceration. So what can we do about it?
Yeah. Well, first, let me just sing praise to Ms. Fulton and all of the mothers of police brutality victims and mothers who have lost their sons and daughters to unlawful violence. I mean, you all are really my heroes, and to you goes much credit. I think when we talk about criminal justice reform, you all have and deserve much credit for pushing forth a lot of the reforms that we're starting to see around the country. The fact that a lot of people are starting to pay attention to district attorney races, to you goes much the credit. So thank you for your courage. So Melanie asked me to come here today to talk about hate crimes and criminal justice, and I want to close by talking about what we can do. And so I think that is the most important thing that we can all do during this convening this conference is make sure that we walk out with an action agenda. Hate crimes. We have a person in the White House who has an incredibly important bully pulpit that he likes to use to target people who look like us. And I think that that's incredibly dangerous, and we're starting to see the impacts of that all across the country. Hate crimes are on the rise. The #1 victims of hate crimes in our country are African Americans and African American women. I want to tell you the story about Taylor Dumpson. Taylor Dumpson is a young black woman who was elected president at American University right here in Washington, D.C. She was the first black woman elected into that role. It was a historic election. And shortly after she took on that role, she became the target of vicious trolling and vicious hate crimes levied on her by people like the Daily Stormer that would publish information about her and tell their readers, go out and target and harass this woman. They hung bananas on campus. They put up cotton inside school buildings, and they made her life miserable. Her grades suffered. She suffered emotionally. It was horrible. We filed suit on behalf of Taylor Dumpson and have a case pending right here in D.C. District Court right now, but we know that there are a lot of Taylors like that all around the country. Part of the thing we have to remember with hate crimes is that it's not just Charlottesville, it's not just these bold folks who are walking through the streets hoodless. A lot of these folks start their hate activity online. And so when we talk about hate crime, I think we need to make sure that we keep that a focal point of our conversation. Sites like Stormfront, sites like the Daily Stormer and the altright.com sadly provide a nasty place for people to organize and incite people to violence. A lot of the Charlottesville activity that we saw were not people convening online. And so in terms of what we can do, I think it's really important that we speak up about a lot of the hate that we're seeing online today. We actually, and a number of organizations are doing this work, are dealing with hate online in creative ways. We shut down Stormfront, which is the world's largest hate site online. It has hundreds of thousands of registered users, millions of people across the globe who traffic the site, by going after Network Solutions, which provides a platform for Stormfront. When you sign up for Network Solutions and open up a website, they say, okay, sign the boilerplate says that you can't use their services to promote violence. And so we showed them examples of people who had died throughout the years, and these are dates, racially motivated deaths that were traced to activity that originated on their site. I think that there's a lot that we can do in terms of creative activism in that regard. Let me close out by talking about criminal justice, which has come up a whole lot. And when we talk about criminal justice, I think it's really important that we connect it to voting rights. There are 5.8 million people who can't vote in our country today because they bear a criminal record in their history, and 40% of them are African American. And there are 3 states where this problem is the worst: Florida, Kentucky, and Virginia. And this fall, this November, we have an opportunity to change that in Florida because there's an important ballot initiative. And so if you live in Florida or know people in Florida, something you can do is tell people to vote for that proposition on the ballot, which would restore voting rights to about 1 in 5 African Americans who are disenfranchised there today. All right, last thing, what can you do? Everything that we have been talking about today, everything that we will talk about over the next few days, all of this connects to one critical issue, Melanie, and I want to make sure we talk about this, and this is this current Supreme Court nomination and the vacancy that is underway right now. This is our nation's highest court, lifetime appointments. These folks are there for decades, issuing rulings that shape all of our lives in every area: education, criminal justice, hate crimes, you name it. I sat feet behind the current nominee, Mr. Brett Kavanaugh. Melanie was there as well. And I have to say, it was incredibly troubling. Not just because of his record, what little of it that we have that shows that he would be hostile and not a friend on civil rights issues, a record that shows that he would be squarely aligned with Justice Clarence Thomas. But there were moments that really felt like he was lying and incredibly untruthful. Moments where he'd say, bring that paper a little bit closer. Can you turn that to the side? Can you say that question again? You remember those moments, Melanie. And this is a man that's up for a lifetime seat on our nation's highest court. It is really important that we all speak up now. Time is of the essence. Tomorrow, he comes up for a preliminary vote in the Senate Judiciary Committee, and they'll likely vote next week, Thursday, and then it goes to the full floor for a vote at the end of September. 202-224-3121. If you have not reached out to your senator, time is running out. I guarantee you we will be here 5-10 years from now talking about devastating rulings that are turning our country back. If we 202-224-3121. Today, do it today. Call your senator and express your grave concern about Brett Kavanaugh. 90% of his record from his time at the White House was blocked during this hearing, the first time that's ever happened in the modern era, because there are things in his record that they don't want us to see. But the things that we do know should cause everyone in this room grave concern. So there is a lot that we're up against, Joy, but there is a lot that we can do in speaking up, speaking out, bringing pressure to bear on our senators, and most importantly, voting. Voting in November. Up and down that ballot are the most powerful things that we can do to impact where we find ourselves right now.
Thank you. And if your senator's up for re-election, call them and remind them that you will be voting in November up and down. Because we are literally out of time. So I'm going to very quickly, I want to get Solandra Benton in because this issue, you know, I think you were teed right up on this issue of whether we even have the access to vote. That is what your organization does. And Joy, I want to make sure that we also talk about our money a little bit. So if you guys could give, just each of you give brief comments. Can both of you stay for the next panel? Would you be available?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you to stay. So give us a teaser, give us a preview, and then we'll have you stay over.
Well, it's just ironic that I'm sitting here with a sister from Orlando. Yes, Florida, I just want to say that I'm very excited about what's happening in Florida. We got 54 days to rewrite history. For a state that I can remember every morning I wake up looking at the numbers and saying to myself, 537. That was 537 votes in 2000 election that was decided on the Bush and Gore election. We was the talk of the nation, the laugh of the nation. I know a lot of you probably was part of the counting chairs and everything else. Embarrassment of Trayvon and Jordan Davis, embarrassment of a lot of things, but we're right now going to make history in more ways than one. We just elected in Orlando our first African-American mayor, and not only in urban communities, but in rural communities, we have sisters that actually came through the Black Women's Roundtable that's actually been elected as county commissioners and city council. And so it does start locally. I'm excited because even the governor that's going to be our new governor came through this system of Black Youth Vote, Andrew. So we have a lot of things to be proud of. We know that Sean, we don't have conversations with him. He, you know, everything that happens, even down to Amendment 4, that was done on grassroots efforts.
Amen.
No money, okay, in the beginning, no money. It was Black Women Roundtable that actually, when everybody else told Desmond Meade, no, it ain't gonna happen, no, we don't have the money for petitions, all the progressive groups and everything in Florida, tearing papers up, he made a call, said, don't worry, Desmond, we got you. Black Women Roundtable has you, and we actually printed the first petitions. So we got a lot in stake as Black women in Florida and around the country because we understand that we're going to do it. I mean, you know, we're going to do it, and we're going to make sure. I heard some of my sisters said, I'm going to cut it short. Part of our Unity 18 campaign is with the Black Women's Roundtable in Florida is get your house in order.
Okay.
So if everybody just get their house in order, don't assume your child that's sucking up your air conditioning and playing video games, they registered to vote and they're going to vote. Don't, people that's coming eating on your Sunday, no, you ask them, are you registered? You take them as a family. We have cards out that we actually got the plan for them to do to make sure you check and make sure that you're on the polls, make sure that you take and you go vote as a family. We are doing everything to celebrate our Black vote, even to the parties, to the polls. So it's not going to be an excuse.
Absolutely.
And we're going to celebrate Florida this year. We are going to be the talk for something positive this year.
I was a 14-year Florida resident, so I am not ashamed to rep the 305 and the 954. We will redeem the state. We will redeem. Florida will be redeemed this year. All right, Joy, because we can't have anything without our money. So get your moment in.
So I'm going to stay on the next panel, but one of the things I want you all to know is the census numbers for poverty, health insurance, and income came out today. And while white men are doing better economically, women are remaining the same, and of course that includes women of color. That means the wage gap for women has expanded. So I want to talk about that in the next session. But let me just say, you spoke about Orlando. Jerry Demings, who's advancing the mayor, is the husband of Val Demings,
yes,
who won her primary and does not have a challenger. We are winning.
Yes. We love Val Demings. All right, thank you very much. I'm sorry we went over a little bit. So stay where you are. We're going to go into the next panel. I want to thank you, Melanie, always. And I have to give a shout out to Mark Thompson, who isn't here, who made sure that we got connected so that this could all happen. So thank you very much for having me. Stay to the next panel, and then you guys can get your questions in. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you all.
Thank you. Can we give Joy a great sister round of applause and brothers for being an awesome host? And so what we're going to do is move swiftly because our sisters are here for the power table. Can we say Black Women's Power Table? Well, that didn't sound very powerful. Are you ready for the Black Women's Power Table? Yeah. It's already started, so we're going to round 2. So we're going to ask our moderator For ladies who were on the first panel, if you don't mind switching out, and then if our staff can bring the table tents, it's going to take us about 5 minutes to switch. Or move to the. Are you staying?
All right, so can I just stay here? Okay. Am I just staying here? Okay.
Okay, yes. So just stay right. Okay, can we have all of the panel, the first panel, come up here really quickly. First panel, please come. CBCF would like to get a photo of the first panel. All panels. First panel, quickly. First panel. Come up. Is everybody here? First panel. Yeah, we're here. Joy, can you take this picture really quickly? Okay, 1 second, sister, 1 second. We gotta take, come up, yeah, come on. Okay, come on up. First panel, we probably better sit down. Okay, first panel. This is for our host who's let us do this. Come on. First panel, please. Lori Billingsley, come up here, Lori Billingsley, come up here. Okay. Okay, board members, if you're in the room, come up here. Board members, BWR members, board members. 30 seconds. Miller, please get in the photo. I'm gonna start calling people out. Now I can't call out our host. Okay, let's come on.
Here we go. CBCF, fun one. We're counting forever. And ladies, everyone looking this way. Thank you very much. Because I'm writing a bunch of stories about what women are doing to change the face of the political landscape. And Florida, to me, is critical. I used to live in Florida. Went to FSC. I was in Miami and Tallahassee. Went to FSC and Faneuil.
Greetings, family. We're about to start the second panel. I'm going to ask if you're taking pictures, if we can take that picture taken to the back of the room. All right, lovely, beautiful black women. Oh, Lord. All right, family, if we can move the picture taken to the back of the room, to the back of the room, please. Thank you, family.
Hey, everybody.
Can we move the picture to the back of the room, please? Thank you, family.
Okay, photos in the back of the room. Okay, photos in the back of the room. Thank you, Joy. Thank you again, Joy.
Let's give another round of applause for our people who just got through. What amazing session. Now I'm going to turn it back over to my sister Melanie.
Everybody doing okay? Cora, come sit over here. Okay. Okay. And our presenters, I'm just going to go down the row. So this will be done. We, first of all, can you all give us a round of applause again for that first Black Women at the Power Table conversation? And there were some sisters in the room that I wanted to lift up. I don't know if they're still there, who were doing the work. I saw Wakenia Clanton, Tiffany Laughlin, and Rhonda Ridley in the room. Just sisters, wave your hand from various partisan and non-partisan organizations. One of which just happened to be a Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated member, and several of them are in the room, along with our sisters, and Siobhan, who are our co-chairs for social action. Thank you all so much for being here. And all of our sisters from all of our sororities, AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha, Sigma Gamma Rho, Zeta Phi Beta, if I missed anybody, right? And all of our sisters from all our organizations, links, and others who are here. Coalition, Labor Union Women, so many. How many sisters in here represent an organization, or many? Because we represent many. We're members of a whole lot of things, right? But the main one we're members of is a sisterhood, no matter what your title is. And so we thank you. I see a couple of awesome brothers in the room. I see Chief Cox and my brother Dwayne Crawford from Noble. Thank you all for being here. If I'm missing you, not just because I can't see you because of the lights. And so we're getting ready to move right on, and I'm going to turn it over. I'm here to bring greetings. Jennifer was supposed to be up here to welcome us. I don't know where she went. She's working. Come on over here, Jennifer. All right. You know, I definitely can't do this by myself, and I want to thank, while we got a chance, while a lot of y'all are sitting in the room, our awesome team who helped make this happen. And Tanya Tyson and Jennifer Tucker and Acacia Newsom and I saw Crystal High and Holly Holiday, Daryl Coles. Now y'all start calling names, I'm gonna forget. Lon Walls, awesome communications team. Have I left anybody? No, I left somebody out. So Jennifer, thank you. Can we look? This is the power room, so this is not to be a shrinking violet. I am no longer one. I gave that up. I put that in it. I put that behind me. I'm not a shrinking violet. Have y'all noticed that about me lately? I'm no longer a shrinking violet. Okay, Jennifer, give us our welcome.
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Roundtable, and welcome to Roundtable number 2. We are delighted that for those of you who have stayed over to continue with us, and for those of you who are new in this room, welcome. You are in for a real treat. There is so much that we will be talking about that you can take home with you and use moving into November and into 2019 and moving right on into 2020. So with that, I'm going to pass it along because there are things that we got to discuss today.
Thank you so much. And I also want to give our more brothers on our team, Mustafa Hafiz, Clifford Campbell. Have I left anybody out, Tanya? Okay, thank you. And so, I said Lon, yes. And all of you all, so first of all, give yourselves a round of applause, right? Because this is a family conversation. So we have also have greetings, as I mentioned in the first roundtable. You know, our board, many of our sister board members are here. We want to thank you all so very much. And just, if you're a member of the coalition board, please wave your hand again if you're in the room. If you are a member of the Black Women's Roundtable, wave your hand. If you're just a member of the black people, just wave your hand. Or you like black people, wave your hand. And so I will turn it over to one of our awesome board members who will bring greetings on behalf of our board. Sisters in powerful places. And so Elizabeth Powell, who I've gotten a chance to know, I think I met her through Cleola Brown, I believe, who's the Secretary Treasurer of the American Postal Workers Union. Our post office is under attack by this administration. I'm a part of the Grand Alliance. And we really have to speak up. They're trying to do some crazy things. In the midst of all of us going on, we can't lose our post office. It's ours. It's one of the few things. And so I thank her for pulling me into that movement, and I thank her for all she's done. She's a quiet storm. And so I want to turn it over to her to bring greetings on behalf of the Coalition Board. Liz.
Giving honor to God, special recognition to each and every one of you. On behalf of all of the members of the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation, its members, our chair, Mr. Tommy Deutsch, of course my sister, who is the national president and CEO, as well as the convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. Good afternoon. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be here, and as I sat back there and I listened to the first panel, it's time for a power shift. I says, well, we can leave here saying the power has shifted already. We're looking forward to an exciting afternoon, and if you should see me disappear, you know we multitask, and I'm supposed to be somewhere else about right now. I don't know if I'm upstairs or downstairs, but I'll have to leave you. But enjoy this panel. Take whatever it is that you have to share, we have to share, back with you. November will be here before we know it. God bless each and every one of you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Liz. And I just want to turn it over to a sister who means so much to me. So much to me. Makani Timber. Through some rough years, some rough days, Latasha Brown and Felicia Davis, this sister was always there. She started something called the Praxis Project, but I knew her through a mutual friend, Damu Smith. I just want to thank you, sis, because Makani has helped so many of us, and people don't even know how something happened. I ain't gonna tell her secrets. Just so many organizations, she goes in and helps you find a way to survive rough times, Cora. You know, Coalition's gone through some ups and downs. We're 42 years strong. And in some rough years, she made sure we could stay around and stick around, and not just stick around, because I don't like to do nothing just to stick around, but to make stuff happen and be a part of the solution for our community, be a part of serving our community. And so she birthed that baby, and she continues to help birth and save and nurture so many ceremonies from across generations. She has her own, she's a chief strategist of higher ground strategies. Did I get that right? And she graces the great state of Mississippi these days when she can be home. Jackson, Mississippi was behind the scenes on some of that new stuff happening in Mississippi and many other places. I just want to thank her publicly for always being there. She exudes sister power in a real way. And I just want to thank her and turn this conversation, and this is a conversation, if you're in the room, sisters, this is not a conversation for you to sit on the sidelines. We set this up for a reason. We struggle every year to make it happen this way. But if you want to come sit at this table, this was a power table. It's not just this table. Everybody in this room is part of the power table. And as I said in the last session, we're blessed. Right, we're privileged to be able to be in this room, and we're not here to kind of play games. We really, this second, just like the first panel, this is about hearing about what folks are doing. How do we work together? How do we strategize? Our communities' lives are at stake. Our communities' lives are at stake. I sat in that Supreme Court hearing. I never sat through 3 days of that. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that Kavanaugh will take us back 50 years. We have to we need to be in the streets on Kavanaugh. And the way he lied in there, and the way he sat there, and you could feel, you could feel this man was real clear that he has an agenda that is not about our people. It is the agenda that will take us back 50 years. So I'm gonna turn it over to Makani, get off my soapbox, and turn over for the round 2 of the Sister Power Table. Thank you, Makani.
Thank you, family. Let's also clap it up for Melanie, because you know she's what makes it possible. Can't thank her enough. So family, one, I want to thank again all of you who are staying, because you all know that we are all stars. And I know there's some people who ran out because they want to take pictures and do whatever, but you know what? The best people The best people are right here. That's what I'm saying, and I know. So a couple of things really quickly as we get started. I want to remind you, are they, wait, oh, we can, oh, look, that's so cute. Look at that. Eyebrows all done and everything. Okay, so here are the hashtags. I literally look at them as we go, so if you're raising questions and things like that, I am watching it. So please be a part of the conversation, and we will get you in. So if you have a Twitter feed, or we'll be looking for the hashtags, so just know that you will be in the conversation if you are hashtagging. And in fact, we're going to be playing a little game that we're going to ask for your participation. Ooh, Lord. Participation. In the same way that we're going to be asking the same thing of all of the participants. So please pay attention to that. And then I'm going to just in case, for folks to just be reminded, I do a little quick roll call for the first panel. Lori Billingsley, who I know I did see. Stephanie, I don't think made it in, right? Heather Foster. All right. Tanya, I saw Tanya. Yep, there you go. Janae, I saw. Kim Keenan, yeah, there you go. Sorry, I need to have my go. Hey, girl. Okay. Joy Owens, there we go. Joy, okay. Renee, I saw. And Robin, did Robin get here? Okay, awesome. So the way we're gonna do this, because I'm not as nice as Joy Reid. And y'all already know, right? People who've been here before, you already know that sadly, everybody's going to have a couple of minutes, and I know that Joy already stacked my panel, added some people. She said, you come on, I'm so here, you clean it up, so we're going to see what we can do. And then what I'm going to do is hopefully we're going to start with the first question that's going to go real fast, I think. And then the second one, hopefully we'll have a little more time. This is the whole plan. So the first one is, let's see, we're making sure. Yes, okay. The first one is for you to think about a headline for what you're doing to leverage power of Black women's leadership. So, am I making sure? Yes, this is group one, yep. So, think of a headline. I'm going to give you a minute. Think of a headline. So, this is basically the short and sweet. There'll be a 2-minute timer. When you hear the song Flashlight, you know that time is up. And also for folks in the audience, you can go ahead and answer the same question using the hashtags, and we'll be looking for that as well. So a headline for us on what you are doing to leverage the power of Black women's leadership and influence, and that's impact in philanthropy and economic justice, right? Everybody got that? And we're going to go in the order that I read. So this is going to be Lori, Heather. Heather was here, right? No? Okay. Huh? This right. Right. The mic. Oh, this mic is not working? Oh, yeah, of course. Lori, do you have a mic? No, it's empty. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So it'll be Lori, then Heather, then Tanya, then Janae, then Kim, then Joy, then Renee. But I'll make sure y'all know. Okay. Stephanie made it, yes. Okay. Thank you. All right, we're going to work it out. Thank you, Lori.
All right, is my 2 minutes starting? Yes. Wonderful, I can't wait to hear Flashlight. So, our headline, from my perspective, would be empowerment. We are very deeply rooted in empowering women economically. And so one of the things that we do through the Coca-Cola Foundation, as well as through our strategic leadership and giving, is look at ways that we can provide funding to organizations and programs that are supporting women's economic development. That could be through job skills training, that could be through financial literacy, that could be through wanting to start a business, because we understand that when women are empowered, in particular women of color, that they're going to give back to their families, to their networks, and to their communities at large. So that would be our headline, empowerment.
Look at that. And you had like a minute plus to go. That was awesome. You go, girl. Give her a hand for that. So Stephanie, do we need some mics then? Do we have mics? I need to. We got it. Thank you. Hey, oh, there you go. Hey, look at love.
Oh. Hello, ladies. And the fellas. I would say, are you really powerful? Because I ain't sure. Would be my opening, because, you know, one of the things that we've been told repeatedly as a community is that if we just vote, that's enough. In reality, voting is only one portion of the power we exhibit as a community, and especially the power we exhibit as Black women. If we are not the ones that are running for office, that are controlling what the policy solutions are that are coming to actually manifest real change in our communities, and if we are not the ones who are funding candidates who look like us and those who do not, to make sure that when they are setting their agendas, that their agenda is our agenda, then we really aren't as powerful as we say we are. And unfortunately, we're so oftentimes caught up on positions, but not caught up on what our purpose is to lead us to our power. So as the co-founder of Collective PAC, we are working to support, recruit, train, and fund Black people all across this country, because we know that our power truly comes when we are focused on building Black political power for our communities, to change our communities for generations to come.
So I'm just so impressed with y'all. Thank you, Stephanie. Beautiful. Did Heather make it in? All right, then we're going to Tanya. Thanks, sis.
Great. So I would say, again, Tanya Clayhouse, I'm with the State Infrastructure Fund, which is a project of neo-philanthropy. And I want to thank you, Melanie, for inviting me to be on the panel and for the opportunity. Many of you all know me in a different capacity. Many of you have known me as someone who worked at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law for years, at People for the American Way. I worked in administration doing education. So I was someone who was on the other side and was working the movement, doing voting rights and election protection, and working in criminal justice and education reform. I'm on the other side now, and I'm working with a philanthropic organization, the State Infrastructure Fund, that funds and supports many of the organizations, civil rights organizations that you're familiar with, such as the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, which I am proud to say is the first time we are now funding them as a result of me being there. And so what I'll say is my headline is that I'm present. And I've made a deliberate decision to be present here, to be present in this philanthropic community, so that I can be in the room, to have the conversation and ask the question about why are we not supporting particular organizations that are on the ground, that are actually doing the work, but are not getting the credit as some of the other major organizations that we are all familiar with. So my headline is to be present and to acknowledge the work that has been going on for years in the Black community, particularly by Black women, and to support our efforts in a way that has not necessarily been supported and recognized and understood or appreciated. And so I have made that deliberate decision to be here because I think it's that time, particularly right now, and I'm happy to be able to be at this stage at this particular point in my life. In addition to the fact, I think my children are much happier that I'm working from home now and doing that. They can see me now. But I think being present is what is my headline so that I can help support all the wonderful women that are in this room today.
Right on time. Stop, stop, stop. Yeah, stop, stop. There we go.
And that's my theme song.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. And Tanya, we so appreciate you and know you've been at the Roundtable for many years in different capacities. And it's great when we have folks on the inside thinking about that. And speaking of which, this is a great transition to Janae Ingram, who who also is playing that kind of role. So thank you, Janae.
Thank you. Has my time started officially?
Not at all.
Okay.
I'm about to do it.
Okay, so first I want to say thank you to Melanie. This is probably one of my favorite tables to sit at each year because there are so many powerful women who are doing amazing things. And I think sometimes we feel like we carry the community on our backs. And I know this is not the question, but I'm still going to say it. And in this room, I think we can draw strength from each other. The fact that so many of us occupy different spaces is something that we need. We don't all have to play the same role. There's space for all of us and there's a need for all of us. So now to the question, my headline would be, it's time to share. And so Airbnb is a home sharing platform. For those of you who don't know, if you have extra space, if you have a granny flat, or if you have a basement, you can share that space and make money. Again, it's an economic opportunity, back to the original question, that I think a lot of us are not tapping into. Additionally, we have another part of our platform called experiences, where you can share your hobby, you can share your talent, the thing that you do on the side, your side hustle. You can share that and have people pay you to teach them your side hustle. So sharing, my role in the company is to share this information with communities and with women like you and men like you who are in the room. And I'm happy to play that role. Internally, I share information with my networks. I share information internally about how we can better show up with various communities. And so, again, the timeline is it's time to share. And if you all are interested, please visit airbnb.com for more information on how you can share and make money, because that's really what this is all about.
Awesome, thank you. Yes. Kim Keenan, thank you. Another person who's been coming into a new way.
Right.
Loving
many
this.
Hats.
Loving
many,
our sisters.
we like hats. We have many hats.
Yes.
So I want to thank Melanie for being the living, breathing, what power looks like when it's activated. Not just power, but activated power. So I'm very pleased to be here today. I'm at Odyssey Media now, a woman-founded company, a Black woman-owned company, 100%. And every day, we want to make life better for Black women. We live for that. Our corporate culture is Black women. And what we've been doing is we've been working with our strategic partners, and Lori Billingsley and Coca-Cola is one of our very favorite corporate strategic sponsors. Don't tell the other ones. But we work to make sure that the fastest growing segment of the business community, Black women, starting their own businesses. So my headline is, sisters are doing it for themselves. You know, we're not begging people to give us money. You know, I remember when my best friend walked into a bank and said she wanted to start Odyssey Media, and they laughed at her. Like, why do we need something where women get together? Why do we need that? And 20 years later, her multi-million-dollar company doesn't need their bank because she has her own money. And now she has a pitch competition to give that money, not to loan it, but to give that money to women who participate in our pitch competition. And what's really special about our pitch competition is we don't just teach you how to pitch your business, although that's very important. We don't just teach you how to dress and how to walk to go into that bank and ask for that money. We give you the toolkit to be able to create, expand, and build your business. So when you come to our pitch competition, we already taught you how to do your 2-page business plan, because we're not giving you $25,000 and we don't know what you're going to do with it. When you get our money, you going to know, and we going to know what you're going to do with it. And I think that's really a theme that we should carry through, whether it's politics or anything else. You know, we've been doing this just 2 years. We're just getting to like $200,000 we gave away, and you know, we'd like to see that as a beginning and to see more people joining that endeavor. And Coca-Cola has been a fabulous partner in that endeavor, but we need to keep doing it for ourselves. I love Flashlight. Oh, hashtag Odyssey Media.
glasses on is what's really going on. So thanks so much, Kim. I really appreciate that. So we are going to come over to Joy Owens. Oh, and you need a mic. We got to figure this mic situation out. Yes. Don't worry, I haven't started the time.
I'll be quick to make sure that I stay in my timeline. So I am a person who's recently transitioned as well. Previously, I was a civil rights attorney, and I've transitioned to being a policy officer for Oxfam America. And in that role, what I would say our headline is to be intentional in how we partner and invest our resources with people on the ground. I think that's really critical and important, and it's something that Oxfam does really well. We make sure that we invest in people who are doing the work on the ground and people who look like the people that the work will impact. So I would say our headline would be to be intentional in our partnerships and also intentional in who we invest resources into, specifically into women of color.
Thank you.
I did give my time.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. So next we're going to have Renee Redwood.
Well, since I do math and she had 30 seconds, I'll take 2.
We're trying to catch up, baby. Come on, come on.
So when you ask what the headline would be, and for me, it would be the table, and table using it as an acronym, and how we leverage is the ability to influence others through our actions and our words, and so I'll use table. T is how do we develop trust amongst ourselves. First and foremost, trusting ourselves with just living our core of integrity and intent. A, having an attitude of gratitude and an attitude of success. That's how we demonstrate our power. B, be bold. Be bold. Someone said, I'm not a shrinking violet. I never was shrinking, and nor was I a violet. I'm bold, I'm black, I'm beautiful, and I hope others know that too and demonstrate that all the time. So when I come to the table, and many times I am the only black woman at the table, I'm very clear. I am a black woman at the table. My perspective matters, and it will be heard. That's about being bold. When they say shoo, I say how loud. L, about love. How do we begin to bring back civility into our conversations? How do we demonstrate love not only for ourselves but for others, and make sure that the policies that we promote are rooted in that core notion of love, which is a value? And part of trust is beginning, how do we begin to align our actual practices and our policies with the values that we hold dear? Love is a value that I hold dear, and therefore want to make sure whatever work I do is not creating harm. And then E for table is energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's simply transformed. How do we use the negative energy that comes at us over and over and over and over all day long, every day? How do we then convert that? Because we do have the power to take what is given to us and take crap and make it into gold. So that's my table.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was awesome. So we're going to hear from Joy Cheney.
First of all, I love the overrepresentation of joys in this whole roundtable. I'm so glad to be here again for the second panel, carryover from the first. My headline would be, first of all, let me just say my name is Joy Cheney, and I am the director of Equal Pay Today, which is a campaign to close the gender wage gap. And we are a group of organizations, women's legal and labor organizations around the country, big ones like National Women's Law Center, and small ones like Cassandra's organization in Mississippi, powerful, who are working to close the gender wage gap at the local, state, and federal level. My headline would be, Black women are demanding more. At work, at home, in the public square, and most importantly, at the ballot box. And that was the theme of Black Women's Equal Pay Day this year. Nothing that we celebrate, but it is an observance and it's an opportunity that we have in the summer. When should Equal Pay Day happen? December 31st, right? That's when we mark the wages of men, and then we begin seeing how long women must work into the new year to earn what men have earned at the end of the previous year. And for black women, that falls sometime in August in 2019. Based on today's census numbers that came out, it'll be a little further in August. So it's going to take us even longer. And, you know, it's not just us, right? We're sharing and we're collaborating with our sisters from white women to Latino women who have the latest equal pay day. Theirs is not until November. Black women earn approximately 61 cents on the dollar of a white non-Hispanic man. Hispanic women, 53 cents on the dollar. And what I love about black women is that we understand how that number is calculated. And so we're going to talk about that at another time. But we want you to turn a flashlight onto equal pay issues. And we know that black women have already done that. I love that we moved from 18% to 28% in our hierarchy of this particular issue. And that's because we know that it's about us, but it's also about our families. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a second question for this group, and I want to encourage y'all, this beautiful sheet that has all of the sisters' names and their affiliations on there, and pardon us if we were doing real introductions, you know we would be here till next week because these sisters are just that bad, just that bad. So the next question, and I think what, right? Did we miss somebody? Who showed up?
Robin?
No, that's the second. That's the second
here.
group.
Yeah, Robin's
All right. Okay. We are transparent. We all right here. Okay. So the second question, and what I'd like to do is we're going to do it in reverse order. So you get to come right back, Joy. And that is, you know, because one of the things that happens with Women's Roundtable and with the coalition is that we have been doing a lot of work to, as many folks know, we do reports. We collate information, and we want to know what folks think, and we put that information out there. We have a report coming out very soon on black women leadership and organizing work and its relationship to philanthropy. And we're very excited about this. Many of you are in the room who were interviewed for this. And we're really excited about the findings. And we did, I think, a really good job of reaching out to all kinds of black women, trans, you know, cis, all kinds of folks, to really get into how are we doing this work, what are we learning about how we're doing this work, and how are we not supported. So one of the things we want to ask you in this next lightning round is if you were to make a recommendation to philanthropy about how to invest in black women, what would that be? And this is for our first group, and I know that there's folks on the second group who be like, and yeah, I want to answer that question. And I want to say anybody can answer that question. Just put hashtag Sistar Power, and then I will be able to see that, or any of the hashtags as I'm looking. So if you have an answer for that yourself, go ahead and share it. But we're going to start here with our panel. We're going to start with Joy Cheney, and we're gonna do the same.
I'll do this one quickly. I think it's investing in the infrastructure of our organizations, because so many of us are one-shop operators and it's wonderful that Tani and others are investing, but when we see our white male friends, I went to Harvard Law School, I see how my white male and white female colleagues, how they are invested in. They don't have to do one person doing everything. Right off the bat, they get hundreds of thousands, millions from banks. They walk right on in, and they get it. And that was not the case for most of the women that I know. Those running organizations, those having private businesses, like my mother, who's the first black pediatrician in Orlando, Florida, who was not able to get a business loan when she started her practice in the 70s. So she had to set up her medical practice, borrowing things, begging, robbing Peter to pay Paul, when her cohort that were coming in and practicing got loans.
that impacted our trajectory in our life. We did okay, of course. You know, we're not highbrow problems, perhaps, but real problems. And so whether we're talking about nonprofits and philanthropy in that respect, or we're talking about banks, as Kim, you know, talked about before, investing in our infrastructure, investing in our ability, not just giving us money to do one little project or one little thing here where we don't know if we're going to survive the next couple of years, giving capital major investments that allow us to grow, to do short-term, but also long-term planning, to hire so we can actually survive and live and be paid, speaking of equal pay. All of that is really important because some of us who are doing good work, we're not even being paid equally within the nonprofit space that all these philanthropists are giving to.
Thank you for that. I'm coming back around to Renee Redwood.
If I had to give advice to philanthropists, I would say trust black women. Yes. Trust black women. That they have to begin to move beyond the rhetoric of equality, equity, and justice to the actual practice of equality, equity, and justice as defined by black women, not defined upon us as black women in organizations. Consistently, we see that they look to create so-called partnerships with our organizations by going through white male-led organizations to give us a sub-grant. Well, why couldn't you just call me directly? If indeed that is the only way in which they can get to know us, then part of the requirement ought to be to the white male-led organization that we recognize that you have a table and that you have women of color and black women in particular at the table. It is your obligation and responsibility. If you are to receive funds from my fund, you must be responsible for introducing me and making that personal relationship work between the black woman-led organization that has given you the capacity to receive money to do black people work.
Come on now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, more black joy in the house.
And I echo what was just said. I think it's really important to place women of color in decision-making positions where we're not always the recipients, but we have autonomy in deciding where funds are placed. Yep. And that's one of the things that Oxfam has done by giving me this opportunity. I'm able to do my role and give money to people who are impacted by the work. I think also understanding the role of power building and what that looks like. A lot of times that's not sexy and a lot of people don't want to fund that type of work, but it's so important to invest in movement building work. And it's critical, and I think that the more people have these conversations and organizations like Oxfam are coming to the table, and we're investing in women of color, and also we're hiring women of color to help decide and make these decisions, then that will hopefully create the change and also be able to sustain our work.
I already know. So I'm all about investing in the movement. I know, I have seen, I have been there, and when you invest in the movement, you really invest in moving us forward. And to switch the gears, when you invest in women, and especially when you invest in black women, all you need to do is to look at the stats to see. When you invest in black women, you invest in the black family. When you invest in black women, you invest in the black community. When you invest in black women, the black dollar stay in the black community longer. When you invest in black women, they hire black people. Right. When you invest in black women, they make the right choices and they build on their success. And so when you invest in black women, the business case is clear that you will benefit from that practice. And we have to start owning that and not feeling like, well, I work real hard in my company and, we just work real hard. We got to stop that. We got to work smart, because if we come in with that kind of attitude, then that's what we're telling people, that we not comfortable with our success. We're not comfortable with what we have built. And when I look back at my families, everybody can look back at their mother. My mother was a business. That's how I sit here today. And so, our businesses do not fail at the rate of other businesses. We should be able to walk in anybody and say, I'm a black woman, you can invest in me because you know that I'm gonna get up earlier, I'm gonna work later, and I work for myself. I'm gonna work 10 times as hard as I was already working for everybody else. And we need to carry that as a badge of pride and honor, and stop acting like, it's like we have to soft sell it. We can sell it like everybody sells everything else in America.
Amen.
Yes.
And I didn't get the music. Oh, wow.
Here we go. So are we getting you a mic, Tanya?
Oh.
And then Janae's, yeah, I'm sorry.
Am I
Janae.
next?
Yes, you
Okay.
are next.
Okay. So I want to echo Joy Cheney. I think entrepreneurship is something that needs to be invested in. Black women are the fastest growing entrepreneurs in this country, the fastest growing group of people who are entrepreneurial and who are starting businesses. And so often starting businesses is met with the hurdles that have already been referenced. Not being able to get a loan, not being able to scale your business at the same rate as other groups. That's a huge loss of opportunity for our communities, for the individual business owner, but also the people that they employ, to Kim's point, and the broader community that is able to support those businesses. So I think there has to be a focus on how do we fund and support Black women-led businesses? How do we ensure that they have the funding, the capital to grow, to scale, and to be able to be what realistically they already are doing? I mean, because at the end of the day, we know we're not going to let anything stand in our way. If we want to start a business, we're going to do it, even without the funding. But I think with the funding, it means so much more to what we're able to do and how far we're able to reach. So I think that that's the real opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, there was supposed to be a mic in front of her, but that's all right. We're going to work it out.
That's what I thought.
And I was so remiss the last time to not say thank you to Melanie for being a real deal at all times, and for never wavering to bring us together. I believe truly that this would not happen in the way it does without you, Melanie. So thank you, and the entire team. I would say just a slight variation of the question, and I would say that philanthropy really is a habit that starts at home, and that if, as a community, we want to be able to utilize philanthropy as best as we can, our philanthropy should really be tied to the power we seek. It should really be tied to the power we seek. And I just think about tithing. We tithe, Siobhan, let me know if I'm wrong. We tithe in one way so we can seek the power of the Lord to transform our lives. Okay. But yet at the same time, there's people in our communities who can transform our communities through policies that we don't give no money to. We don't help them win, but yet we seek in power. So really, I would say that if we could utilize our philanthropy, not just for community service, but for community coalition building to build power for our folks, to create the changes we need, we would be all the more powerful. And just on, and just specifically about rich people, and this is just for Black people, we got a lot of money, y'all. We really do. We don't have all that we need to have, but we're working with something. And I love the fact that so many Black people from all specters of the economic, all levels of the economic spectrum were able to invest, for example, in the Black Museum we have now. I call it the Black Museum. I don't know what y'all call it. Smithsonian Black Museum. And as much as Oprah Winfrey gave, and I love Oprah immensely, she's never given even $1 million to a political campaign, not even Barack Obama. If you add up the money that wealthy Black people have given, it's significant, but it's not what we need to get us to the level of power building that we need to have in our community. So I would just say that I hope that in this historic moment we have, with the historic number of Black women running for office, that we use our money to build power, in addition to funding our philanthropic efforts.
All right, Lori, you get the last word. Oh, I'm sorry, Tanya, then Lori. Sorry.
That's fine. So I appreciate the question. And again, I go back to what I originally said about being present. I think if something that I would tell those who are in philanthropy that are working in the foundation, something that I keep in my head, but I'm much more polite about it when I'm in the room, is I'm going to call out the BS. And I'm going to say that's hypocritical for how it is that you are judging organizations led by Black women who are creating the movement, who are doing all the legwork, and you're going to put them to a double standard than you are other organizations that do not necessarily have the right history and the stats to support their claims. And while I think and I appreciate the fact that there are really great people who are working in the field of philanthropy, and I'm working with a lot of them, but I also understand that there is an inherent bias when it comes to our Black-led organizations and how it is that we're judging them and rating them as to what it is that they should be required to do with $25,000 that they got 30 days before the election. So once again, and I'm seeing nods because you all know what I'm talking about. I've been on that receiving end from foundations and organizations and hearing it now and can say, you cannot reasonably expect us to do what it is you're asking us to do. But now you're setting us up to fail and then setting us up in a way in which we cannot get money in the future because you didn't give us a reasonable expectation as to what it is that we can accomplish with this funding. So to put it politely, I'm going to call out the hypocrisy and be present and make sure that those that are in the room that are wanting to do the good work also understand and appreciate some of their inherent bias that is coming about as how it is into how it is that they are funding our organizations.
Thank you. Now, Lori, thank you.
So I don't think I can add anything to what has already been said. The only thing I will say is looking at it from a slightly different vantage point, as Joy Owens mentioned, was you have organizations like Coca-Cola, like Target, like McDonald's, where you have African American women who are the decision makers around the funding that's going to be given to organizations. And so at Coke, you have myself, you also have Helen Smith Price, who is the president of the foundation, who's African American. You have Therese Thompson, who's over supplier diversity, who is an African American female. And so I think that the flip way of looking at it also is which organizations are out there where you have African American women who have the decision rights to give the funding, who will have a propensity to give to African American organizations. We're a proud funder of Mel's organization because of the great work that it's doing, as well as many others. And so that's just sort of a different way of looking at it. And we're looking at what programs are coming to the table, what impacts are being measured, and how we can measure the metrics. And if you can show us how you do that, then we'll give you money. So I think the work that's being done is important, and the work that's being done isn't going unnoticed. And I think there's, because of the rise in sort of the elections and everything that's going on in the White House, you have more people who are looking for ways where we can make a difference with organizations that we know are going to be out there on the front lines.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we do a round of applause for all the sisters who just shared with us? That was amazing. And now, family, we're going to go to round 2 of this session. We have about 20 minutes left. And they said we can go a little later. All right. Well, you know how they know. They already know. So gratefully, thank you. I'm going to just share very quickly again. Don't forget about the hashtags. So you can share. Also, if all of the sisters who just spoke, if you wouldn't mind sharing with folks who are following us on social media how to get in touch with you. You know, what's your Twitter handle? What's, if there are websites or how people can get connected with you. So if you would, of course, in between checking emails and making sure that that work is doing what it's supposed to do, if you wouldn't mind doing that so people can continue to connect, because that's what Black Women's Roundtable is all about. That's how we build, connecting with each other. So now we get to have another amazing set of Black women. And we're going to actually hear from these powerful leaders, both at the national level, at the state level, and even the sisters at the state level are setting the tone for what's happening at the national level. I know somebody said Florida, but I know there's some other states that you could call out and say that. So who we have up next is Siobhan Arline. I always do that because I want my aunt's name is that, but it's pronounced differently. Siobhan Arline Bradley. I'm going to do it. I'm so sorry. Cora Masters Barry, Ebony Baylor, Cleola Brown, Latasha Brown, Chief Vera Bumpers, Felicia Davis, Patrice Lawrence. Is Janice here? Did I see Janice? Oh, okay. Okay, Heather, you get just to be in the next one, okay? And did I see Sheila? Is Sheila still here? Is she in the room? Okay. And then I know I saw my Mississippi sister, Cassandra, here. So this is the next group, and we're going to be focused on two things. Thank you. We're going to be focused on two things, and that is some of the work that folks are doing so you can learn how to get connected, and then also how are we taking care of ourselves, because one of the important things that happens is we're here for the long haul, and we can get burnt out. And so we wanted to hear from you sisters who know what's up to share. And then as folks get ready for that, we got a couple people I just want to acknowledge that are here. Okay, wait a minute now. Where's the name though? Oh, here we go. Okay, we have, is that Deborah Watts from the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation? Welcome her here. And we have Dr. Kristen Brody, right, here. Yes, go ahead and clap. And I know in these times we definitely want to be on top of what's happening with the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation. And you can do that at emmettilllegacyfoundation.com. So make sure you take a look at that. So welcome them all. So let's give a hand clap for all of our sisters who are joining us in this next panel. And we're going to start with you, Siobhan. We're going to start with, if you could say a little bit about how folks can, oh, yes, we're playing Pass the Mic. How, what are some of the ways in which people can get involved? And of course, this is the 2 minutes, so of course, think about that. And then, and if you could share a tip for folks who are in this work for a while, like how do you hang?
And before we do, I'm on mommy duty, so I have to leave because the school just texted me I gotta get my baby. So please forgive me for it. He's okay. I just got a daddy switched on me. I wasn't planning on that for the panel. So now we can start my 2 minutes. Good afternoon, sisters. It is great to be here. Melanie, thank you so much. Love you to life for your work. Fellow Delta, fellow freedom fighter, and to the sorors and sisters in the room, good afternoon. Very quickly, what can you do? I'm going to use the headline question to help me with what you can do. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is how do you stay alive from the inside out? And the opportunity to be strategic. What Black women have to do is refocus our energies around our strategies. We do a great job of roundtable talking and have a hard time with the full kind of accountability that it takes to get to that next level. And when Black women decide to do it on their own, that's actually when it works, when we get accountable to each other. And so I'm here to encourage us to think about our own accountability plans. Who's going to take on what, how, and when? And then when are we going to write that down together? Because I'm also a person that deals with research, and I understand that we have to also begin to document our work. Video document, write it down. If you don't see it, it didn't happen. So first, sisters, we have to be on top of ourselves, being accountable to our work, publishing our work. And then the last thing I would say as we're thinking about what we can do is think about our sectors. I'm here not as Delta, but as Reach Beyond Solutions. And when I started my own business, it was to package what I knew God made me to be: religious, a leader, and a health leader. So executive leadership, understanding what that means to even be an executive leader, but also what it means to have religious leadership. This context of faith and advocacy has to be married. And the idea of health and health equity means that we can change policies in healthcare, we can change policies anywhere. And so the last tip was, I think, what you can do to take care of yourself. Self-care is based on how you look at yourself and how you see yourself. You have got to see yourself the way God sees you. And that is an efficient vessel to be used to save other lives. And so I hope that you are encouraged to begin to look at yourself in the mirror and begin to see your beauty, because beauty starts with you understanding, wow, if I'm well, that means other sisters are going to be well too. So God bless you. Y'all forgive me. I'm going to have to make sure my baby's okay. I'm going to kill my husband. But anyway, thank you so much for this opportunity, and more to come for this roundtable.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to introduce Cora?
This is not in the flow, but just in the flow of the spirit. And when I first moved here, I've been in the coalition 23 years. Came here as deputy director, ED, then president, BWR, one paycheck. I keep saying that, right? One paycheck, two jobs. But when I first came here, and we talk about equality, we talk about a lot of issues, but I just always, when I get a chance to say this, about one of my sisters and mentors who, when the brothers, after I worked a long time, shifting the organization in a rough time, went to go decide they were going to give it to a brother now and say, thank you, sister, but you can leave now, is that Cora Berry was there and some other sisters were there. And so every time I get a chance, so that's on a personal level. And we worked together those 23 years, but she always was there for me in a way that, you know, we go sit on the porch and strategize on things, but also just be there just to be on the porch. And that's part of that power table. So there's many other things. We all know Cora Masters Berry is a political strategist. You know, I met her with the Million Man March in 95, Felicia, 95, and we did the voter registration for the Million Man March, which is now many years ago now. You know, we know her as the late Marion Berry's partner in building power and sustaining power for black folks. And so many other things that she's doing with the Recreation Wish List Committee. But just wanted to say thank her for always, you know, answering my phone calls. Whether she on the beach or she working on the tennis courts, and always being there, and thank her for just a lifetime of service. So just indulge me with that moment of privilege, and thank you, Cora.
Thank you, Melanie. I love Melanie. Give Melanie a hand. I just love her. I always describe Melanie as the Dr. Hyde of our time. She's in the room where it happens. Sometimes she's the only woman. Many times she's the only woman, and she certainly is always a voice for us, so I appreciate her. I don't want to talk very long at all. I just want to say that all my life I've been political science professor, obsessed with voter registration. She said Million Man March. But one of the things that were consistent in my life was young people, because I've always felt a connection to those that are coming behind me. So as I transitioned from one position of political science professor, then I became First Lady, which title did not fit me at all, but I found a way to use that opportunity to empower our people, our children. And I always say, before there were black women, there's a black girl. And I began to really realize that sometime if you want to get young, if you want people to be like us and do what we're talking about, got to start a little younger. You got to start conditioning them and programming them to the importance of their role. And I say that, and when I say that, if you want to know a prime example of what can be done and what's being done in our communities to make sure that our young women become powerful women, I have one word to say. You ready? Serena. Never been more prouder, never more committed in my mind and in my heart of what we're doing, and that equality and justice and treating women less than and us having our power does not just happen in corporate world. It doesn't just happen in the political world. It happens all the way across the board. So when you saw Serena, she gave you a view into another world that most of us don't even know anything about. Tennis. And how many thousands and hundreds of thousands of young people are trying to break that glass ceiling. And the women that did it went through holy hell. And you saw the culmination of that on that court last Saturday. She had had enough. And as we were watching it, there were young girls, 7 to 13, watching it with me. And I turned around and said, that's what you're supposed to do in this world. You're supposed to make noise. You're supposed to stand up. You have to vote. And I won't get into it, but every year I produce something to show you what I've been doing called Blacks in Wax. And if you've ever seen it, yeah, I see everybody, that is preparing our young people, channeling all the sisters that have done things in this country. We did the Women's March. We did Melanie this year. You went to the Kennedy Center and you saw Melanie Campbell on the stage. So when they get through, these young people become the embodiment of all the people that shoulders they're standing on. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Amen. So instead of me running around all the time saying register to vote, I went a couple of generations down 16th Street, 16th, what is that? 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's what we're preparing them for. So that's what I do. I prepare the next generation. Of course, I'm always in the struggle because I was born with it. I mean, Marion and I fought for justice. 19,000 new registered voters. Got 18,000 of them to the polls. That's how Marion got his 4th term, by the way. So, I mean, there's always ways to do it. That's why I stay in the game, but I'm always over there with my babies. Thank you.
Thank you, family. I'm going to need a mic in front of Ebony. I was trying to motion.
No problem.
We got it? Good. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Ebony Baylor with the National Urban League. Before I get started about what we're doing, I have to thank Melanie Campbell and the Black Women's Roundtable for the love and the support in providing spaces and platforms for young Black women to have their voices heard. Many of you know me in one role, but I'm transitioning to the Director of Civic Engagement at the National Urban League. So what we are doing now is, this is the first campaign that we are launching for, well, not the first campaign, but we're launching for the 2018 election cycle. It is called Enough is Enough Vote. We're saying that the time is now to be involved, to be engaged. There is too much at stake. There's too much that's on the ballot and too much on the table for us to be passive and for us to be sitting at home when we need to be taking our anger, our frustration, and all of our power to the polls. So what we are asking people to do, a couple of websites. If you go to enough-is-enough-vote.org, you can go there, you can commit to vote. You can verify your voter registration, which is so important. I'm just going to stop there, because you want to make sure that your voter registration is active, that you know where your polling location is, that you create a voting plan, because so many people are getting frustrated. And now, since we don't have the Voting Rights Act, you can show up and all these changes are happening. You can show up to your known polling location and it's changed. So we're going to be putting out information. We're going to be sending you text messages when you sign up. So we want people to be engaged, to be involved, and to know first you vote and then you engage and you stay involved. And the sister who left, Siobhan, I just want to say it's so important about making sure that you are active in writing articles and publishing. I'm also a PhD student at Howard University in political science. And so being able to say, having ways that you can publish your work, and we talked about philanthropy and what are some ways you can invest. There are a lot of students who are working in these fields who are looking to get their PhDs, but they have no funding. So if you're looking for ways to be involved and to provide funding, that's also another avenue, because if we don't do the research, we don't show up. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. We have Miss Cleola Brown next, a longtime ally over at APRI. In the house.
Hello, sisters. And first of all, looking around the room, I want to say thank y'all for staying here. Okay? But thank you, Melanie, for always being inclusive. And well, see, that's the kind of sisters, and Cora's got the little finger going too. Those are the kinds of sisters that certainly make a difference. And when you ask the question, the first thing that comes to mind is that grassroots get it done. You know, there are folks who we never see at some of the tables that we're privileged to sit at. They don't have a PhD or an MD or the DDs or the whatever Ds you want to talk about behind their name. And I'm not bumping that because my mama worked hard to make sure I had a college education too. But looking at what happens is the end product that we're talking about, and for us to be always aware, not to always want to start for the photo opportunity, but to look at the people who make that photo happen, who we're supposed to be working with and working for. Most of the times our community, and that's what I do, I work for the A. Philip Randolph Institute to try to make sure that I don't forget the principle that was laid out there at first. Go to the community and make sure that you respect that community and pull the people along with you so that they are empowered to keep the work going. Our work mostly starts off with people getting pissed off, and if you're offended, too bad, because some more will probably follow after that. But looking at places like Michigan, and I'm going to talk as fast as I can, where they were taking away the ability to vote down straight down ballot voting, and you know that was the kind of training that we were doing, just vote Democrat and go all the way down. It's not applicable any longer because some Democrats ain't Democrats, and if you're offended, some more of that is coming too. But in looking at issues and looking at what impacts our community, making sure that our people get an opportunity to really feel like the fight is theirs, to identify that they are the ones that have to make it happen. That's where we have an obligation not to forget or to pass by. And that's how we stay strong, especially as women. Women don't look to have all of the weapons. We just want to be mad enough to get it going. And it don't take a whole lot to make us mad enough to get it going. If you don't believe me, watch your head. And when it starts moving to the side and the hand goes up in the air, that's when we're ready to rock and roll. So it's that kind of strength that Black women bring to the table. And I say to you, sisters, let us not forget where the first obligation is. It's to the communities in which we live. It's to the people who we are, and it's how is it that we can be most inclusive of all of who we are in order to make sure that all of these grandiose things that we talk about actually gets done for all of us and not just some of us. And those who are fortunate to reach the top, don't forget you got up there, you can also come back down. So let's build a good foundation. So if we fall, we've fallen on something soft, warm, and inviting. We are our own keepers, and we have to do that with one another. So that's the quick answer, and I didn't get the music either.
Thank you. We got my other sister, Brown, Latasha Brown. Black Voters Matter.
Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. I always start before I speak singing because I think culture and context matters. And I think we have to remember that. That's the very thing that grounds us, that in the midst of all of this work is really about our spirits, and that our spirits being grounded in this. And so in my 2 minutes, I just want to share that some of us, if I were to take a theme around, if there's a theme of what I think we should do, is get it on the ground. We got to get it on the ground, sisters. At the end of the day, there's air war. Our war is going to be won on the ground. And that's going to be grassroots sisters like you all moving it. And the last 3 weeks, we've actually launched a tour. It's called the South is Rising Tour. We got the biggest, baddest, boldest, blackest bus in America that is running around the South. We've been to 5 states, 37 cities. In 3 weeks, we rolling. We've registered. We've gone to barbershops and beauty salons. We've been in churches. We've been in parking lots. We've been in the juke joint. Wherever black folks are, that's where we've been. And it's working. And so I say that because as we've been going around on the ground and people are waiting to really hear a message beyond, oh, you just got to vote. They're waiting. There's a couple of messages that we're doing. 3 things. 1, we're going to tell black folks, you ain't forgotten. You matter. We matter. I matter. We love you. Second message is, you ain't powerless. It don't matter if you live down in Randolph County, Georgia. We can stop some things. Can't we, sisters? So that's the second message. And the third message is, when we work together, we win. So Florida ain't by accident that there's an African-American brother leading the ticket. Georgia ain't by accident because there's a sister leading the ticket. Mississippi got a brother that is on the U.S. Senate. That ain't by accident. They're saying why the polls don't know, because the polls ain't talking to us on the ground. Because if you were on the ground, you would have known it. So at the end of the day, I'll just say that if you want to follow us, 79 text, we matter, 797979. We matter, 797979. All right. Peace and power.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Felicia Davis.
Okay, I was glad to be your background singer. I don't get that opportunity often. So I noticed in the survey, in the poll, that previously we didn't really have a need to kind of survey environment. And this year we included environment, and so it says 3%. And what I noticed, we also kind of looked at the poll and we see ourselves shuffling around. And as I looked at the issues, I was like, oh, I'd have a very difficult time ranking them, because there's no way that they aren't all critically important to me. But as we step forward on the environmental agenda, where we have always been, and we put it, because they're not going to get there. They're not going to solve policy and climate. They thought they got there, but you can't get anywhere without us. And when black women get on that agenda, we will pull it over and turn it around. Now, I'm hoping we don't need too many more storms to hit. You know, we were the poster kid with Katrina, and me, Latasha, Melanie, we all stepped up. So for me, I'd say in this moment, it is encouraging to have environment on the agenda for the Black Women's Roundtable, which is really important. Now, the other thing is about what we can do. So as I look around, we have to give more. I look at all the institutions that have been important to me. I didn't have a very big role in them being there. And some people had to be looking really far out. For there to be a Howard University or a Clark Atlanta University, somebody was projecting way beyond anything they could benefit from. And they were doing it with pennies. So we have to go back to not just tithing in church and not just giving because your kid's in college, but knowing that our institutions are important. So with the HBCU Green Fund, that's really important. But I'm going to steal one more minute, because in addition to us giving, I'm one sister that's going after those endowments that were built on our back. It's time that we ask for what's ours. So that's my final message. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have our sister Patrice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrice Lawrence. I am the National Policy and Advocacy Director for the Undocumented Network, a network of Black and undocumented, currently and formerly individuals. We are led by and made up of Black undocumented people, and I am undocumented. This question is so loaded, being on this panel is so loaded, and I have so many emotions in this space. I'm very grateful for a lot of people at this table. The Undocumented Network is sponsored by the founder of one of the organizations around this table, and I thank you. I have another individual around this table who got arrested in February on behalf of Black immigrants, and I thank you. And I'm sitting across from another black woman who made sure that our issues were lifted up on a national panel in Phoenix a few weeks ago, and I thank you. I feel the strength and the support of black women, and I appreciate it, and we need more. One of the things that I'm currently sitting with is I'm in the middle of running a lot of deportation defense campaigns, and it is terrifying. And black people, black women, black children, black men, black girls, black boys are being arrested and detained at an incredibly rampant rate. I'm terrified of police officers, and I'm terrified of ICE. I believe that we have the power to abolish ICE in our generation, and I stand very firmly with that hashtag. It's not impossible. ICE was created after September 11, and it was made to terrorize black and brown communities. Now, the bad part about it is that the black part is erased, and that when you, I think someone mentioned what happened with Serena, and that cartoon, we saw that girl, Naomi, and the way they depicted her was as a blonde girl. Before, she was Haitian Japanese, and by the time the cartoon came out, she was a blonde girl with white skin. We see erasure every day, and I see it in my work, and it is gonna kill us. And I'm not joking. 2 weeks ago, they deported a man, a black Mauritanian, Sani Diagne, who had kidney cancer. And he is in a place now, detained again, where he is not called a citizen because of the color of his skin, because Mauritania still has a caste system, and slavery is still legal. And then here today, we have the headlines of FEMA, and I'm a part of a coalition called Defund Hate, where we literally look at the different money that ICE is getting and how they are transporting money from systems that should be benefiting us. $10 million from FEMA was transported to ICE. And we are in hurricane season. What is that gonna mean for our people? That is a really big issue for me. But I do believe in black women. Last week, they were deporting a man called Papa Doumbia, and so one of the things I'll ask is please follow on DocuBlack. We have several petitions that we are running. One of them is for Papa Doumbia. The other one is if you do bit.ly/stop jailing black people. That one talks about supporting TPS and DED. Papa Doumbia was supposed to be deported last week, and a group of black women, black Muslim women mostly, stormed to the airport, about 50 of them, and they chanted until United Airlines canceled that ticket. But we have to talk about the collaboration of these systems and these bodies that we are a part of, including ICE, including police, including airlines, these places where black women have power, and they're collaborating in ways that are gonna kill people like me.
Appreciate you so much, and a lot of folks like people like me whose people are on DocuBlack. Just appreciate all that you all are doing. So we just take a breath and be in that for a minute as we move to transition. And who we have up next is another long-time sister at the Roundtable and with NCBCP, and that is the Honorable Sheila Tyson, one of the leaders of the Black Women Winning in Alabama. And that's right, and a new commissioner.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Newly elected commissioner.
Thank you. And hadn't gotten the seat and already catching hell. You know, trying to change our pay and everything, and we hadn't even took the seat. Well, I don't take the seat until November. But, you know, I was sitting down talking to a group of women about voting and what can we do to make sure we get a lot of people out in Alabama. And we got to remind people, we put you in, we can also take you out. I had to write a letter like that last week. So we came up with, it's 65,000 children in the school system in Jefferson County. So we're going from the K-5, from starting at 5 years old all the way up to the 12th grade. We're asking them to bring a voter's registration card of each parent and a grandparent on your father's side and your mother's side. One thing about it, all of them got a mom and a daddy. Might not be with them, but they got one. So we asked them to bring those, and we are finding out if you're not registered to vote or you're not an active voter, we're going to do absentee if you're working or if you're ill. We have some of them that wrote letters saying that they were felons. We have lawyers that's actually working on getting their rights back. But you can imagine 60,000 times 6. Add that up. Do you see how many voters that consist of things that we are not thinking about? We've got to think. Vote. Every day is voting day, not just during election. And so what we're doing, we're going to the school system. We're doing little mock elections for kids in kindergarten to let them see that every day you live, you should think about voting. Until we start doing that, we will always be behind and have to work hard. I believe in a good ground game. Like Latasha brought me to the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation 20 years ago. And I have not stopped. I was working before I became a part of this organization. I never thought I would run for public office. But it's so important that we train black women and make them realize when you get in that seat, you got to represent us. You got to. If not, we're going to take you out. And we got to make them understand that. So we're going to start at the schools. Start when they little. And we got to go through the school system, the whole school system, and get these parents and grandparents. Go to your churches. Look at the sick on the bulletin. You got people sick in church. They need a absentee ballot. We forget all these hidden votes. We got to make sure every day is voting day. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We are going to pass the mic down to Cassandra. I was trying to see if yes, we're right over there. Thank you. And then we'll catch up Heather.
I'm sitting here quite full myself and thinking about Fannie Lou Hamer. I always have to bring her into our space. And she said something that makes me think about kind of the direction that we're going in Mississippi and the work that's being done on the ground. And she said, sometimes it seems like to tell the truth today is to run the risk of being killed. But if I fall, I'll fall 5 feet 4 inches forward in the fight for freedom. I'm not backing off.
Come on.
I'm not backing off. And that's where we are in Mississippi. There's an energy in the air. We are organizing, we're rallying, we're mobilizing. We have, as Tasha said, some pretty key elections that are coming up. For the next 4 years, we have some amazing work that has to be done. That's right. We have the census and redistricting that's happening. 10 years ago, we lost a congressional district. We can't afford to do that. And so we are mobilizing and we are organizing our women and connecting. We have the grass top women who get the issues and are ready, but then we also have the grassroots women who are living paycheck to paycheck, just trying to put food on the tables. And what we have to do is be able to connect the economic justice story to their kitchen tables. And that's what we're doing. Talking about who you elect in these offices also controls that Medicaid, that controls that health care, that controls that policy that may be coming down around work requirements if you have Medicaid, right? So those are some of the connections that we're making. And so we're really excited about that work, working with Makani to really map the gap to see where we are strong in our alliances and in our coalitions. That's the work that we are beginning to do on the ground level. We're really excited about that. And Mississippi doesn't have a minimum, well, we're not able to push a minimum wage law, but we're using this equal pay campaign as a way to lift up the story around women's work and women's wages, so that we can say, well, we may not be able to get a minimum wage law on the books, but we can get an equal pay law on the books that will help begin to close that gap and then give us a platform that we can talk from to say women matter to this economy, and low-income working women and black women matter. And so that's where we are, and we're excited to move the work. We ain't backing off.
I know this.
Thank you. Thank you, my sister. Before we hear about the amazing election toolkit and stuff that's going on, I want to give Heather the 2-minute opportunity to share a little bit about the work you're doing and how people might get involved.
All right, thank you so much. It's great to always be back at the Black Women's Roundtable. Melanie, thank you for inviting me again. I currently work in the corporate space. For those of you that don't know me, I worked for President Barack Obama for 10 years in a variety of capacities. I'm just starting to talk a little bit more about that experience because I have learned that people need to know that there were women that worked in the White House, black women that worked in the White House, and then also worked on the campaign, in the field, at the foundation, on the political side. It's important. So some of my colleagues and I wrote a book called West Wingers. It's coming out at the end of this month. So you're gonna start to see us in different places, talking about our experiences, and really with the hope of, I want more black women to work in policy. I want them to work in government. I want them to think I can grow up and work in the White House. I can work in the governor's office. I can work in the mayor's office. These positions are so important. I tell people all the time, I did work for a black president, but there were a lot of times I was the only person of color in a room. And in those rooms, decisions are made that impact all of us. So that is one of the things that I'm very passionate about. But the second thing for this 2018 cycle, my email is heather.foster@gmail. If you want to go to Georgia or if you want to go to Florida, please contact me. We are going to have to be on the ground. At heart, I am a campaign person. I do work in the corporate sector. That's why I was late, which is hard to explain political things sometimes. But it's important to be heard there as well. But I am a campaign person. I like to drive people to the polls. I like to show up at churches. I like to show up at barbershops. But if you want to be plugged into the 2 coordinated campaigns that are happening in Florida and in Georgia, email me. I have told both of the candidates that I am getting everybody I can to these states because it's going to be hard. It's going to be a fight. In Georgia, she's running against the former Secretary of State. That is the person that controls the elections for the state. So if you don't think they haven't planned and thought about this, they're ready to go. So we have to have as many people as possible. And so I think I yield my 2 minutes. And
you did it.
Once again, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And let's give a round of applause for all of the sisters who just presented. One of the things, Black Women Roundtable is not just talk. We actually a whole lot more do. We just do all the talking pretty much for the year today. And then the rest of the time, everybody's rolling up their sleeves, getting down. And one of the people who makes sure that we are rolling up our sleeves, getting down is Holly Holiday, who holds down, yes, clap it up for Holly, because she makes stuff happen. And I know a lot of y'all know that, that as we do this work, people have been talking about the year of the black women, but y'all know it's been the millennia of the black women. Black women have been doing stuff for thousands of years. It ain't just this year. And also how we support each other, and sometimes we're out there organizing and we're trying to talk to folks, but we don't always have all the information that people need. And so what the Roundtable did was, through Holly and through a number of folks around this table, was to figure out, what is it that's going to actually help us help other folks get to the polls, and even for the folks who are getting to the polls, because the other thing is, I live in Mississippi. We can get to the polls and then people act like we ain't supposed to be there. So we have lots of work to do, and voting is just the beginning. So I want to turn it over to my sister to talk about this project.
This is, thank you. This is really, really quick. I've put it up here for you. People have asked, you've heard why we need to do it. You've heard what we need to do. These are the tools to make sure that you can do it. We've also printed out a hard copy, which I know so many people have taken, but you can also download this online. I'm just going to turn to the middle of the book, literally. Right here, this is the blueprint. And if you go online, each of these bullet points, you can click on it. It leads you directly to the tool to be engaged with. So you can register, you can verify. October 1, you'll be able to populate your local ballot, so you can do a sample ballot on your way in. We have lots and lots and lots of partners. We're always looking for more partners. If you know anything about the Roundtable, you know our table is big and wide. Our tent just keeps getting bigger. We have room for all. I encourage you to share this with your networks. I encourage you to use it, to take a look at it and see what happened. And most importantly, you talk about the ground game. This contains all the tools that you need to get it done. You can register, you can verify your vote. It shows you how to get people out. We need election protection. We have all of that wrapped up into one thing. And then most importantly, I just want to end with this because I'm a social media person. If you haven't done this already, please text BWR CBCF to 5155. This will allow us to continue to communicate with you about all the various campaigns that are happening, not just with BWR, but with our partners, things that you've heard about that are happening on the ground. This is your portal to all things Black and voting. So I really encourage you to do that. And I would be remiss, especially since we're on live stream, if I didn't also suggest that you make a small donation. And you can do that by texting Unity 18 to 41444. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Melanie, but before I do that, I want to do another round of applause for everybody who participated. What an amazing day. Thank you. And make sure that you tell your friends to continue to stay involved, because again, we're about to do, the talking is just when we're here, but we're about doing it. So we're gonna, and I also want you to clap it up one more time for our sister leader, Melanie Campbell, as she closes us out.
Can we all stand together? And I'm looking for Tanya Tyson, who's my special assistant. I think she's run around being a hard-working special assistant. So Alyssa and Kim, everybody waved. I think Alyssa, when we were shouting, you weren't in the room. And all of our team, thank you so very much. I'm going to ask, so could we give our sister, who actually I stole that from you a few years ago. I said, Makani, when she said something about sister, I said, girl, can I use that? And because it really captures that we're all stars with sisters. And we're trying to shine that light for others to follow, right? And so and so I thank you for letting me steal that term a few years ago. But thank Makani again for being an awesome, not just moderator. And so Tanya's going to kill me if I don't make this announcement too, that we have our Spirit of Democracy Awards on September 21st. We got some awesome honorees. September 25th. And we're really pushing because we got to get across the finish line, nonpartisanly speaking, and it does take resources. And so I want to thank Tanya and the team again, and all of you all. And so we're a round table, we're sisters. So everybody come around this circle. And we're going to close out together. Everybody that feels comfortable, you don't have to, but we like to connect with each other before we walk out of this room. And I'm going to ask my sister, Dr. Jackie Martin, if she would close us out with inspiration and just give a sister or a brother next to you a hug as you leave. And so thank you so much again. Thank you, Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, for being so gracious and hosting us as a co-host, and Essence Magazine as being our continued partner. So I'm going to turn it over to Jackie to close us out. Let me not forget. This has been live streamed, and I want to thank Roland Martin with Roland Martin Unfiltered for live streaming this out, so it has a shelf life beyond this room. Excuse me, and thank him. And of course, you can also go to National Coalition on Black Civic Participation's page. Thank you, Roland. We just got to give you a shout out. Thank you so much for all you do to make sure. And if you don't. And before I close out, I'm just so thankful, and you got a vision, and if we serious about wanting our message out, if you don't take care of making sure that hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered goes through the stratosphere. It has been a miss not having Roland Martin on the air. And he has taken this thing. I've been waiting. You know, I'm social media is not my strength. But I hang in there. And anytime he sends something, I just retweet it. I just put it out there. Y'all got big followings. Put it out there, right? Because we need those voices. And so I thank him for having the vision to create that. But it has to, if we wanted it to go through the stratosphere so that and nothing against any, I'm not going to call them networks because one was here, so I'm not going to say networks. But we need to be able to have the ability to tell our own stories. It has been a miss for the last 6 months. It's been 6 months, Roland. 9 months, right? So everybody, I watch news on this. I watch news on this. Even when I'm home, because Jeremiah 7 and Jeremy, they don't want to watch it on the box. They want to watch it on this. So I just acquiesce with this. The power is in us making sure that we watch, that it's a Roland Martin Unfiltered. Now a Roland Martin Unfiltered. So let's do it. Okay. Jackie.
As we quiet our hearts and our minds, and we've heard so much in this forum today, we are reminded of one thing, and is that we decide, we matter, and our vote counts. It's already been stated that we come into this place to get our marching orders, and now that they have been spoken, and God has spoken to each and one of us, no matter who you are and what you believe, you've heard something today that has told you, you must not be still, you must not be silent, and you have to act. So as we prepare to close out this Black Women's Roundtable, and we've had our power talks, and we've been instilled with the education and the wisdom that we need to go back to our respective communities to do what we need to do, it is in this moment that I ask that we educate, we motivate, and we activate. We have to educate ourselves so that we can educate our people, so that they will know what the reasons and the causes are that we fight so hard for what we believe in. Some people just don't know and they do not understand, but we are their voice. We have to motivate them. They have to see the stories and hear our testimonies. They have to watch the news and listen to Roland Martin Unfiltered, just so that we can have a clue and an understanding that no one else is talking about what impacts us but us. But even in that, we have to activate. We have to mobilize. We have to be on the front lines. We have to be the people, because some folks won't move unless they see others moving. And we have to be the ones that are there setting the tone and setting the stage and letting others know that this is why we do what we do. So as we close out this session today, holding hand with one another, know that you are covered. Whatever your fight is, whatever the work is that you have to do, whatever your grassroots effort, this is where we get our strength. This is where our source comes from. We lean on each other's shoulder. We cry on each other's shoulder. We stand on each other's shoulders because we know the value and importance of our voice. And our voice at this moment is needed in the ballot box. So I pray and I ask that in this very moment, that as we go out to our respective communities, there will be warfare, but we are ready. There will be haters, but we are ready. We will wear our t-shirts and we will stare them back down because we are ready. We will let our feeds on our social media speak those things that are, because we need them to come into existence in this moment and in this time. For each and every one of us was called for such a time as this. So boot up, suit up, and get out there and do it up where you have been called to do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Get it on the ground. Get it up. Get it up.
Ready to go.
Boot it up. Vote it up. Suit it up.
Can we take a photo on the step and repeat over here? Anybody that could come grab a shot?